I started a series where I customized Squishmallows, and then I recently came up with the idea to needle felt my favorite Squishmallows. And a lot of you guys wanted to see me make more. A lot of you guys think I'm a natural. I don't know. Maybe my ancestors were needle felters. So here's part 2. I'm gonna be needle felting some more of my favorite Squishmallows. Some of them I already have, and some of them I'm still in search of. Last time Squishmallows were very, very tiny. Basically microscopic. The ones I make today are gonna be slightly bigger. One step above microscopic. Macroscopic. Unless that means giant, in which case they're not. Last time I needle felted Squishmallows, I used this tool. It can hold multiple needles, so you can stab a bit faster. Be more efficient with your stabbing. Unfortunately, I got carried away in the first 20 seconds or so of the video, and all my needles ended up breaking, all at the same time. It was tragic, mostly because after that whole heartbreak, I had to resort to using my single needle tool, which made things go a whole lot slower. Took 10 times longer to needle felt anything. It was great. Good times. But good news. I went back to the store today and bought some more needles to replace the ones I broke. So yeah, I'm just adding these in.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay.
Now it's good to go. I'm gonna be needle felting on top of this styrofoam circle. It's actually meant for needle felting. I didn't just take a piece of styrofoam from an Amazon order this time, so hopefully it won't fall apart as easily. Last time it was just kinda disintegrating. We'll see if this makes things any better. I'm starting off with this piece of polyfill stuffing. I'm gonna be trying out a lot of things that you guys suggested. One of the things you guys said was to use polyfill stuffing, or the stuffing inside your pillows, to act as the center of the needle felted character. Luckily, I didn't have to cut open a pillow. I just happened to have polyfill stuffing laying around my place. I saved it because I knew someday, for some odd reason, I would need it. And here we are. I was right. You might notice that I'm not wearing finger guards.
And that's because I'm a rebel.
But also because this multi-needle tool has a safety guard, so I don't necessarily need it if I'm being careful enough. You could probably still stab yourself if you're not paying attention, so I would suggest paying attention. Needle felting requires absolute concentration. If you don't give it your undivided attention, you'll most likely stab yourself. And that's on you, not on me. The white polyfill isn't really showing up too much against the white styrofoam, but rest assured, I'm stabbing at it. I'm trying to stab it into a little rounded squishmallow shape.
Hours later.
Now I have this little egg. It's a bit frizzy, but that's okay. I'm not done. This is just my base. For my first Squishmallow, I'm using some brown wool. I'm basically just blanketing my egg into that and then stabbing it in. You definitely can't tell yet, but this blob is gonna be Benny the Bigfoot, who I just so happen to be fortunate enough to be in possession of. I found him at Five Below along with the rest of my Squishmallow collection. Squishmallow hunting on a budget. You might notice that, unlike last time, this styrofoam base is working a lot better. It's not just crumbling and completely contaminating my needle felt creation. This was really frustrating last time. I've learned my lesson. I'm basically just stabbing in the wool, layering it on little by little. The polyfill keeps peeking through. I just keep trying my best to hide that in there. Wouldn't want Benny to have any bald spots. Here's when I stabbed myself.
First stab of the day.
It was just a little tickle.
Oof.
Don't stab yourself. Watch what you're doing.
A lot of you guys were wondering how many times I stabbed myself while needle felting. Last time I didn't stab myself at all, so 0 times. And today I only stabbed myself once. The little tickle you just witnessed. You guys seem to be stabbing yourself a lot. Not sure what's going on. I suggest maybe looking at what you're stabbing. That might help alleviate some of the accidental stabbings.
Watch what you're doing.
One reason I think my needle felted stuff looks presentable is because I cut all the little fuzzies off with these shears. I got them in my needle felting kit a while back and they're honestly great. They help clean everything up, make everything look nice. Once I made the perfect little egg, I added on some more wool. I wanted to kind of bulk up his head a little bit because he has a very puffy head. After stabbing enough of it in, I decided to cut the rest of it off. He doesn't need a fat head, just a little extra fluff. Beautiful. Alright, we're back to an egg. I then took a piece of wool and stabbed that down, cut it up, and ended up with some ears for our little Benny the Bigfoot. His face is a different color than the rest of him. It's pretty pale, so I'm stabbing this like off-white color for that. He looks kind of like a little monkey. How cute.
So subscribe.
Normally I like to make creepy cute stuff. I do realize that these Squishmallows are just kinda plain cute, but I don't want to limit myself and not do something that I want to do just because it's not evil.
I refuse to hold myself back.
The cutest part about the Bigfoot Squishmallows are their little feet. For appendages, I mostly just stab a big flat piece of wool and then cut it up into the shape I want. I just find that to be the easiest way to do it. Also, when I'm stabbing these little pieces, I am using my single needle. I can't get into all these little crevices with my big multi-needle tool. I'm adding some extra wool around the legs where they meet the body to just kind of further reinforce that bond. Make sure they don't fall off. Benny the Bigfoot has like a fluffy head, like a scruffy face. So I'm going around and trying to fluff that out a little bit. Someone told me that for the tiny details I can use actual felt and just cut it out and stab that in. So I decided to give that a try. I didn't even know you could do this. Last time I just painted on the tiny details, but I'm trying out some different techniques this time around. It does work really well, at least for some parts. I'll add more felt pieces to some of the other ones as well. For the mouth, I painted that on with fabric paint. I felt it would be hard to stab a perfectly straight line of felt, so I resorted to my old tricks. And for the tooth, I had some little white sticky felt on hand, so I stuck that on there. I guess you can say this is a mixed media piece. So there's macroscopic Benny, scruffy face and all, looking as good as ever.
Yeah.
For all the Squishmallows, I started off the same way, with a polyfill base. This way I can make them just a little bit bigger than last time and save some of my colorful wool in the process. This next Squishmallow is one of my personal favorites. It's gonna be Emily the Bat. She's a little more challenging, more advanced than all the Squishmallows I've made so far, mostly because of her wings. I stabbed together a piece of wool and cut out her little ears. That's the first appendage I'll be adding. I probably could have just cut these out of actual black felt and then stabbed those in, but I wanted to stick to needle felting as much of the wool as possible, not trying to stray too far from my needle felting ancestors. Plus, I actually find needle felting to be very therapeutic. I know some people get annoyed doing this. Some might find it too repetitive and monotonous, but I actually kinda like it. I don't know. It's like taking my anger out on stuff. It's a good way to take your frustrations out. Plus, you get a little workout. A little exercise never hurt nobody. For the wings though, I am cutting them out of actual felt because I have no idea how else I would do them. They would be way too skinny and curvy for me to needle felt. My ancestors never got that far in their needle felting adventures. I stabbed those in and honestly, they look perfect. I couldn't be happier. Thank you to whoever suggested that. I'm grateful for your guys' tips. For the bat's stomach, I needle felted some gray wool and then stabbed that on. I learned from Connor the cow to never try and just stab something directly on there. I always make it separately and then stab it in. That way there's less fuzzy contamination. Things look cleaner this way and the colors don't mix together as much. For the inner ear part, I tried using just regular needle felted wool that I stabbed together. And I tried to stab that in, but it wasn't staying in place. It just wasn't sticking at all. I guess it's too small of a piece. The details need to be done in paint or actual felt because these guys are pretty tiny, so I do take those off and then just stab in the actual felt pieces, and that worked a lot better. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do this bat if it weren't for that little felt trick. I tried doing the eyes and felt too, but they were just way too tiny. They weren't showing up enough for my liking. Plus I have to add the pupil too, and it would just be impossible. Impossible. So I'm going back to the basics and I'm using fabric paint once again. I used fabric paint for the mouth as well. I wasn't about to try that. I'm not that crazy. Emily the Bat Squishmallow is definitely my favorite of the bunch today. I think it looks just like her. So your guys' recommendations were really hitting home. They were really working out for me. Solid recommendations across the board. 10 out of 10. That is, until I broke out the dish sponge. Which one of you guys suggested I use the dish sponge? I need a name and an address. I forget how many of you suggested I do this. All I know is that it was one too many.
Betrayed and embarrassed.
You guys told me to use the dish sponge as a base to needle felt on top of in place of the styrofoam. I was so excited. I thought this would be really cool.
Betrayed and embarrassed.
I tried needle felting the polyfill on top of it, and
I don't know.
it's just not it. I felt like it was gonna break my needles. I'm not ready to go through that whole heartbreak again. There's no way I'm going back to my single needle. I was not about to let anyone sabotage me.
Yeah, the sponge sucks.
So I'm sticking to the styrofoam. Maybe I was using the sponge wrong. Maybe it was my fault. No. Anyways, so the next Squishmallow I'm stabbing is Archie the Axolotl. I started off by stabbing on his stubby little arms. Kinda looks like Kirby right now. Adorable. Unlike the bat stomach, for Archie's stomach I'm switching it up and using actual felt. I wanted to see which one I prefer. Turns out I don't really have a preference. They both look pretty good. Archie's got gills on the sides of his face. Another stubborn appendage to work with. The gills are definitely something that I would not be able to do without felt, so I'm sticking to that for him. Inside the ears, that are not ears, they're gills. Inside the gills, there's like this metallic-y holographic material. I don't have anything like that on hand, so I'm just going in with some paint. Just trying to replicate that look as best best as I can. I stabbed in his little pupils, and then I painted on his mouth. It's got one of those little cute curvy things that cats have. It just makes him even cuter. The last Squishmallow I'm gonna be needle felting today is a mushroom. Malcolm the Mushroom. I haven't seen this guy anywhere, ever. I'm still on the hunt for him. Normally when I'm out Squishmallow hunting, I find absolutely nothing on a good day. And on a bad day, I find ones like Carol. The mushroom's pretty simple, just a tan base and a red cap. Pretty stereotypical for a mushroom. This one got a little weird while I was needle felting it. The wig just kind of fell off. That wasn't supposed to happen. Interesting. I'm just trying to get it to stay on there, trying to stab it in place. This time more aggressively. The wig isn't going anywhere. I made sure of that. Unless there's a strong gust of wind. The mushroom ended up being taller than I wanted. Not the proportions I was going for, so I'm trimming him down with my giant fabric scissors. It's finally starting to look like a mushroom. I added on Malcolm's stomach, just stabbed it into there. He has a very simple face. Honestly, most Squishmallow faces are very simple. Kinda boring. They all have that same dumb kinda smile. But I still love them though, and I love them even more so in miniature form. I'm starting to have a whole little collection of my favorites. Cute.
Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Unless you're the jerk who suggested the sponge.